the rudder! Raise the sails! Raise the sails!
Captain, an unidentified ship is approaching. Over.
Roger. Wait, is that an Enterprise sales solution?
Reach sales professionals, not professional sailors. With LinkedIn ads, you can target the right people by industry, job title, and more. Start converting your B2B audience today. Spend $250 on your first campaign and get a free $250 credit for the next one. Get started today at linkedin.com/campaign. Terms and conditions apply.
Mint is still $15 a month for premium wireless. And if you haven't made the switch yet, here are 15 reasons why you should. 1, it's $15 a month. 2, seriously, it's $15 a month. 3, no big contrast. 4, I use it. 5, my mom uses it. Are you playing me off? That's what's happening, right? Okay, give it a try at mintmobile.com/switch.
Upfront payment of $45 for 3-month plan, $15 per month equivalent required. New customer offer first 3 months only. Then full price plan options available. Taxes and fees extra. See mintmobile.com.
This episode is brought to you by Nespresso and Samra Origins by the Weekend Coffee Collection.
Introducing Samra Origins. My collaboration with Nespresso is a connection to my roots, to my mother, Samra. Coffee that hits the right notes. It transports you. Crafted with unique notes and bold, soaring flavors. Experience a taste that moves you. Nespresso and Samra Origins.
Discover more at Nespresso.com.
Hello everyone and welcome to How Are The Podcast. It's Gav and he's joining us for our Wednesday pod. It's a Q&A pod. We're going to be answering your questions once again. We're going to try and do these at least once a week where we accrue some questions from the Rotor Report Twitter followers and from elsewhere too. We might even stick them on Facebook, Blue Sky. I know not everyone's on Twitter these days. So we do our best to get in as many of your questions as possible. So thank you very much to everybody who's been in touch. Before we launch into questions, we're obviously going to talk a little bit about Habib Diarra because the unfortunate news came on Tuesday that he is set to miss at least 6 weeks with an injury. So we'll talk a little bit about that. But first, I'll just introduce you to the men who are joining me today. First off, we've got Chris Wynn. Hello, mate.
Hello, Gavin. Yes, it's nice to be on this side of the Q&A because I hosted the last one. So see if I've got any sort of decent answers this time.
Yeah, turns eachies. And also with us is Andrew Smithson. Hello, mate.
Hello, mate. Happy Wednesday, everybody.
Yeah, well, it was happy until we learned that Habib Diarra, of course, is about to embark upon a period of rehab after undergoing surgery on a muscle injury, which is going to keep him out until December. And thought we might as well kick things off by chatting about that. It's not really a news pod, but we cannot ignore this before we talk about everything else after it. The club put out a statement, Chris, saying Sunday FC midfielder Habib Diarra underwent successful surgery on Monday after sustaining a groin injury in training ahead of the game against Aston Villa. He will now begin a period of rehab at the Academy of Light. And they've said he is scheduled to return to action in December. When, we don't know. Obviously, you know, there's the spectre of the Newcastle game and African Cup of Nations in December, which we have to think about when it comes to selecting players and things. And we'll get into the ins and outs and the permutations and who can come in for him and all that when we get to the Q&A, Chris. But just some initial thoughts on that news. It's a blow, isn't it, to lose your record signing so early in the season?
Well, it is. But I mean, first of all, I just want to talk about the lad himself because he must be absolutely devastated. Yeah. I mean, you can talk about it from our point of view and the club's point of view, and but first I want to talk about him because he must be devastated. He's come to a new club, 30 million, and he's hit the ground running, 21 years old in the Premier League, and he must be thinking, I've cracked it, I'm on top of the world. And for this news to put him out for what is essentially kind of coming up to half a season in his debut season, and a big injury as well at kind of 21 year olds, to put you out for that length of time in your first year in the Premier League, the lad must be absolutely gutted. And, he's within a group of players who are really close because of what's happening on the pitch. And you can see how the players are getting on with each other, and that he'll want to be part of that. And I'm sure the club have got a good atmosphere behind the scenes where they'll take care of him and keep him involved and keep him around the place. But he must be absolutely devastated. So first of all, I'm absolutely gutted for him. because as well, I mean, all these players were bought a proper characters, aren't they? And you just love all of them, don't you? So you gutted for him. From a club point of view, and this is where we'll see the versatility of the players we brought in. And, this is where, how long have we now been talking about Dan Neil? And he came on as, being a big thing that he didn't have a minute in the Premier League until he came on for his 199th appearance. Made his debut 5 years ago this month. So it was some symmetry there, which is quite nice. But yeah, that it gives opportunities for Dan Neil. Chris Rigg looked fantastic before he had to be pulled off as sub. He created a chance for Isidore. It creates an opportunity for an 18-year-old who we all think is, going to be a fantastic player in the years to come. Or a Dingra who's been unlucky to not be taken part, and Lefay might come inside. So I just think we've got good options. Or even Gertruda, who came on a Palace in midfield and has done a job for us there. So look, I think we've got some fantastic options. But look, as a fan, absolutely gutted. But gutted for him personally. And it'll be interesting to see with the timings with the African Nations Cup whether he does actually go there. I think with injuries now, we always do the best case. So I think if I had to guess now, I don't think we'll see him till the new year.
Yeah, you're nodding in agreement there, Andrew. It is a bit of a blow, isn't it, to lose such a good player? But as Chris said, I think you've got to try and draw positives from these situations somehow, and it's going to provide somebody else with an opportunity, isn't it? This is why when we've all sat down here and done these podcasts and went, what a squad we've got. Well, now you're going to see the capability of it, because these things create opportunities, and just like Ronaldo's red card will create an opportunity for other players to get chances, Diarra's injury will do the same, won't it?
Exactly. This is exactly why you build a squad. It's now up to presumably Chris Rigg or whoever to come in and stake their claim. I mean, to be honest, on Sunday, Noah Siddiqui did the run in the two men anyway. So, we probably don't even need to put anybody in for Diarra. The reason I was nodding particularly, Chris spoke a lot of sense, but that last point you made, Chris, about how the club, when they announce injuries, it's almost as if the timelines they give us are a best case scenario, won't they? We've had a few where you're led to believe a player's going to be back, but then they take longer. That was the point you were making, Chris?
Well, just very quickly on that, I do think that's a morale thing for fans and players, and for the player himself. So I think it's almost like a psychological thing that, and just probably a bad analogy, but if you go back to lockdown, when they said, right, we're going to be locked down for 3 weeks, if they had said 18 months or whatever it was, then people might not be able to deal with it. So, like I said, I just think that's best case, but I don't think that's the timelines. I think it's going to be longer.
Well, it's interesting though, and that isn't a bad analogy. I think, if you start off with horrific news that it's going to be months and months and months, people are going to be upset for the lad and worried about the team. So the club have obviously thought about how they announce this news, but you can't fault them for the speed at which they've acted. We're led to believe it was it Friday training session he picked up this problem. By Monday, just a couple of days later, the lad's gone and had his surgery. So they're hopefully going to give him the best care. They're not messing about with these situations. They're decisive. They know what they need to do to get the lads back up and playing. And in the meantime, you're dead right, Gav. Rather than see it as a negative, could this be the opportunity Chris Rigg needs? He's one of the most highly thought of youngsters in the country still. So come on then, let's give him a game, let's give him that chance. He was very unfortunate to come off against Aston Villa, I thought. If he uses that kind of disappointment to spur him on, brilliant. Let's see what he can do for us.
Yeah, well, that kind of leads us into the first question, Chris, and it's from Ian Crow, who says, whilst Diarra's injury is a big blow, does it not give us an early chance to see how we could compete during AFCON? AFCON will see us lose multiple players, but Diarra's injury gives Rigg, Neil and possibly Gertrude a chance to stake a claim and alleviate some of those worries. I suppose he's right, isn't he? Because we are going to have to deal with losing a handful of players in December. I mean, these problems occur often. You get injuries, you get suspensions. We've already seen that, 5 games into the season. But yeah, it's going to give chances, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, it's put as a question, but it is kind of a fact, really, isn't it? That but it's not everyone at once, So actually, come and I think there's going to be question marks whether Diarra is going to take top part in the in AFCON. So we'll have to see how all that plays out. But he is going to be missing one way or another. So we'll have to get a plan for him.
As will Sadiki, by the way. So when you talk about your midfield options, they are going to. I can't remember who it was who said it. Somebody said it on one of the pods over the weekend. I've totally forgot who it was, but it was along the lines of, like your Dan Neils and Riggs. They've got to have played games before we play Man City. I think it was Martin. You've got to have played games by the time you play Man City, etc. Because you can't just throw them in cold.
Yeah. Well, I think that it's part of the conversation, and it was I think we talked to Nick Barnes about it as part of the kind of going through the press conference before the which game was it? The last game. So it would have been the Villa game.
So there we go. Got it in the end.
Might have been the Villa game, or might have been I can't remember. They're all merged into one now. The Breeze press conference. But it was one of them. But he'd been asked every week, I think, about how you handle these players who are not getting the game. And Dan Neil, of course, is the big one who, because of his contract, I think that's escalated a little bit more. But yeah, he said that they have been part of the conversation. And they are made to feel, that the point is made to them that they're involved, that they're part of this squad, and they'll have been told, look, Diarra and Sadiki, one way or another, will be missing for a certain amount of time. So they will have been told at the beginning, at some point during this season, whether it's beforehand because of form, injury, suspension, or at this point, you will be given games and you will need to be ready. And, Chris Rigg, you've got him progressing in the Premier League. Dan Neil might have something else on the agenda, whether it is, he wants to put himself in the shop window for January or the summer or whatever that is, then, or whether he's fighting for a better contract at the club. He's got things to play for, as well as just obviously being proud to wear the shirt, which he always is. So, look, these players are going to be ready. And, I think Labrie actually showed it with putting Chris Rigg in, because I think everyone expected Adingra, and I think there was a little bit of surprise that Adingra didn't come in when Diarra was injured at the weekend, when the news filtered out. I think a lot of people raised their eyebrows that Chris Rigg came in, but it just shows that these players aren't kind of second fiddle. It's and Labrie said after the game, he went, because of how he'd been doing and how hard he'd been working, he wants to put him in. So he's desperate to put these players in. So they'll get opportunities one way or another. And you see it now. I mean, look, was it 5 games in or whatever? And, and we'll get on to Ronaldo, but it just shows Ronaldo, Diarra, they're starting to kind of drop with injuries and suspensions. So players will get a chance. It's guaranteed.
Yeah. We've had a question, Andrew, from Connor Bromley, our old friend. He says, is a 3 at the back a wise option now? 3-4-3 maybe, or a 5-3-2? It feels like our size and physicality is vital to attacking set pieces. This is something I've been talking a little bit about privately with people and stuff. When you see the way that Ballard and Alderete and Mukiele all played together at the weekend, it does make you think, is the temptation there to go with a 3 at the back?
They were phenomenal, and I would fully expect Labrie to be looking at it and seeing, can we get all 3 of them on the pitch for every game going forward. I do think there's something to be said about 3 at the back with wing backs. Talbi did quite well at left wing back. It wasn't a position I knew he had much experience of, but he looked decent there. I personally would be surprised if that's what we do, though, unless we're forced into it, purely because we're doing well. So to be making loads of perhaps unnecessary tactical changes might be a bit much. We're going to have to replace the left back anyway. We're going to have to find somebody to fill Diarra's spot. So do you then want to add further confusion into the lineup? I just think Labrie, for the time being, would rather keep things simple as possible. That said, I fully understand why 3 at the back why people would be keen to see that, because all three of them were just superb against Villa.
Yeah, and Graham Brown, Chris, he's kind of followed that on. He said, what a problem Labris has with trying to get Ballard into the starting 11, given the form of Nordy and Omar. How do you see the centre-half position changing, other than a change in formation or injuries and suspensions? It is an interesting one, that, trying to get Ballard in there somehow, because we were talking about this on the Villa preview, weren't we? We were saying he started that well. Like, you've got to try and find a way to get him in the team. Well, this actually does at least afford us the chance to have that conversation, doesn't it? To say, well, here you go. You've lost a left back, you've lost a centre mid. What better time than to try three at the back? And when you see who we're playing next, Forest, they've under Ange Postecoglou, they're playing four at the back now. So stylistically, it might make sense. He's going to be tempted, isn't he? It is a conversation that I think you'll be having this week.
Yeah, well, I think the main point that we can all start with is that it's an option. That before we've just had the question mark about it. And I think we actually raised it last season, Gav. We were talking a little bit about it. I remember Martin banging the drum a little bit for it last season at times when I think we were struggling going forward a little bit. But you have to look at it, and I think Andrew made this point that Labrie sticks with this. He likes his system. He likes his four at the back. He likes his three central midfielders, and there is a danger of being overrun in midfield against certain sides if you maybe kind of put one further back, or and then if people get you down the flanks. So you've got kind of various kind of variations of those formations, and that. And the other thing that you looked about us changing it to five at the back or three at the back, whatever you like to call it. Against Aston Villa, you looked at all the stats of how Aston Villa played, and I think they'd created the most chances, or they played the most passes through the central third of the pitch out of any other side in the Premier League. And you saw how Sunderland clicked in to that formation after the sending off, where we made the change very quickly. But the players, there wasn't much pointing going on. Now, there wasn't the bench saying, you go here, you go here, you go here. The players had almost worked on it, where they said, if we're a man down, this is how we set up. So I don't think there's a lot we can take out of it to say, yes, we can play a three at the back, five at the back. But I think that was a very specific kind of situation and scenario that we'd already planned for and set up for. So there's that. You made an interesting point about Postecoglou with Forest. Now, Danny Murphy did a good, I think it was Danny Murphy, I can't remember now, but somebody did a good analysis of Forest's last game. I think it was Match of the Day. And they were talking about how many players they get through the middle and get forward. Now, that potentially the manager and the coaching staff might be looking at that thinking, actually, if we have five along the edge of the box, we can combat those runners that Forest have. Because I think at one point they had kind of 6 or 7 players basically charging at the defence of whoever they were playing. I can't remember who it was now. But yeah, so that might be something they're looking at. But I think it's just good that we all know it's a good string to our bow, that we can snap into that and we can have a good performance with it. I don't think that, but look, it's one of those. It's kind of, if it isn't broke, don't fix it. We've been doing so well with our formation and our setup, and the players, when players come out and players slot in, we're talking about midfield where Diarra comes out, someone else goes in. Whoever goes in at the moment knows exactly what their role is. Now, if we start going messing about with that, okay, we can have it as an option, but they're not going to know any other formation as well as this one that we've been playing for 18, whatever it is, over 18 months or whatever, however long the manager's been here now. So they know that system inside out. But in terms of the selection problems, again, it's just a brilliant headache to have. I mean, it's brilliant to say we've got 3 fantastic central defenders who are all playing out of their skin, vying for, at the moment, 2 positions on the pitch. Now, that's not a bad problem to have. It's not a case of do we have to get them all into that position. It's like, no, well, it's not a bad thing to just have 3 fantastic players going for those 2 positions, because they're all fighting it out. And then, in the weeks to come, you've got Luke O'Nien as well, who's going to be trying to shove his way into that mix as well. So I think it's brilliant. And look, and there was, I can't remember, someone might have mentioned Mukiele going out to fullback and maybe allowing Ballard to come in because I think he's played out there. But Mukiele's been so fantastic in central defence, you don't want to move him. So you look at that partnership, the three really with Roofs, Alderete and Mukiele, and you want those three to be starting as much. And I absolutely love Dan Ballard, absolutely fantastic. But the moment I just think those three, and Dan Ballard, he was perfect for that situation. Set pieces, big diagonal balls in, corners, long throw-ins, defending like your life depends on it because we're down to 10 men. He was perfect for that scenario. But yeah, I just think it's not necessarily a bad thing that he's there waiting in the wings.
Agreed. I mean, we've said this in midfield as well. The whole point of having a squad is so that you have players ready to jump in when needed. Just touching on the possibility of moving Mukiele out wide, that was something that came up in our question and answer episode last week, Chris, and I think we were discussing whether we saw Hume dropping out for Gertruda, and I thought, yeah, that's going to happen sooner rather than later just because of Gertruda's pedigree. Again, based on the performance against Villa, I think you're going to have to, you'll be doing well to force Hume out of the team at the moment. So do you want to risk moving Mukiele out of the position he's doing well in? And do you want to risk losing Hume, who was, I thought he was brilliant against Villa?
This is the reason why I think so many people are talking about going to three at the back, because you can't drop any of them. You can't. And Ballard, when he's played, has been one of the best players. I mean, he was brilliant on Saturday. And I think just to go back to the point that Connor made in his question, which we didn't really address particularly, when he's talking about our size and physicality being vital on set pieces, Dan Ballard is the biggest asset we've got when it comes to attacking set pieces and defending set pieces. So you can see why there's an appetite there to play him. And I almost think, we're talking about sticking to what we do well, which is that 4 at the back system, but not playing a player who's probably really important to how, especially away from home, how we go out and attack. Because we're not creating loads of chances, and the ones we are creating tend to be from throw-ins, set pieces, corners, crosses into the box. And you look at the squad and you go, you've got Dan Ballard there. You've got to try and find a way to get him into the team. So I totally understand why this is the conversation people are having, because it's so difficult to see how else you get him into the team. And this feels almost like a great opportunity to do that. And I will come back to you, Chris, because we've had a question from Steve Richards, and he said, given the impact of Ballard against Villa, do we go 5 at the back and play Massive Walker wing back at Forest? We're getting a lot of these questions where people are saying the same thing, but it opens up that debate as well, because we've mentioned Talbi 1 or 2 times. Talbi had a great game at wing back. Massive Walker is a wing back. He came on the pitch. So these are all these things are feeding into each other. We need to find somebody to replace Ronaldo. We need to find a way of replacing Diarra, and that might be with another defender and going to a wing back system. All these things are kind of feeding into one another, aren't they?
Yeah. I mean, look, he might do it, but it's interesting. I think it speaks volumes that people are talking about getting Ballard in, which, in an ideal world, I want him in there, and I think we all do. But the whole conversation, and I think this kind of tells you a lot, the whole conversation is around putting Ballard in as the extra one. Nobody's talking about replacing Mukiele or Alderete with Ballard.
You just can't.
Yeah, well, exactly. But that's the point. Now, just because, and this is what I was saying earlier, that it's fantastic how well Ballard's been playing. He's brilliant. But the other 2 have been fantastic, and fantastic as a pair, and the 3 if you count Roofs. Now, do you change the whole formation and the setup of the whole side to accommodate one player who's playing out of his skin? And that's where I don't think the manager will go to those lengths.
I know he got forced into it, didn't he, on Saturday, going 3 at the back, but it worked. It did work. It looked really good, I thought.
But I think with Villa, it was perfect setup for Villa. And you're going to have to look at, and it might be a good setup for Forest, maybe Man United away, but I think that's for the manager to look at, whether it's the right setup for that, or whether looking at the Palace game, go back to our Palace game where we played that system, and you would say, well, why break that system?
For a limited time at McDonald's, get a Big Mac extra value meal for $8. That means 2 all-beef patties, special sauce, lettuce, cheese, pickles, onions on a sesame seed bun, and medium fries, and a drink. We may need to change that jingle.
Prices and participation may vary.
Jif peanut butter. It's that jiffing good, it doesn't really need advertising. So instead, enjoy the calming sounds of the ocean. It's that jiffing good. Get your Jif at Jif.com.
Are you a forward thinker? Then you need an HR and finance platform that thinks like you do. Workday is the AI platform that helps propel your organization, your workforce, and your industry into the future. Workday, moving business forever forward.
On that really quickly though, what the question I asked about Masuaku, would you, if we did, let's say we do, would it be Talbi or Masuaku, Chris? Because we've had another question further up from Lee Watson, who's saying surely Talbi will be given a go. So, there's going to be that debate as well. If we did go to a wing-back system, would it be Talbi or would it be Masuaku?
Away from home, it's going to be Masuaku.
Yeah. Andrew?
Yeah, the word you used earlier, Gav, was we were forced to go into that back 3, back 5 against Villa. I do fully understand why this is a talking point, and I can see a lot of benefits to going with 5 at the back. As Chris said, it might work against Forest. The only reason I'm saying that we probably will stick with a back 4 in the majority of games is just purely because of how we've seen Lebris set us up over a period of months. But I do fully understand the why there's this push. Just a couple of points I would like to make about Michele and Alderete, because we're discussing them. These lads have been here 5 minutes, and yet we're talking about them as if they have been at Sunderland for years, and we're talking about them as if we want them to be at Sunderland for years. It's old news now, but the recruitment this summer and the way these lads have settled in has been brilliant. And in terms of Alderete, just one little thing that happened in the match against Villa, which I'm a bit disappointed about, nobody seems to have spoken about since. Hume did an amazing tackle where he sent the lad up, somersaulting in the air. There was and that a lot of people have talked about that. There was a period in the second half where the ball was kind of pushed out wide to the east stand, and Alderete and the Villa player both had quite a distance to go to it. I don't know if either of you can remember it. Hey. Alderete had this split second about, do I go for it? Do I leave it? Because if I go there and miss it, I've left a load of space behind us. But he committed. He flew in to an absolutely superb tackle, which I think deserves a lot of credit. And the best thing about it was, not only did he get the ball, he kept it in play and set us off on a counter-attack. Huh. The lad's brilliant. Yeah. He's fantastic so far.
I think one of the lads, I'm sure it was Martin the other week, said if Man United had gone out and bought those two and stuck them in defence, they'd be better off this season. And it's funny because I was talking to a Man United fan on the school run, and I was saying if you had our 2 centre-halves, and it was because people don't know them or how well they're playing. He was like, nah, probably not. I was like, honestly, if you watch these lads, that that we've got a couple of bargains here.
Well, it was me who made that point, by the way, so I'll take the credit for that one. Thank you, Martin.
Sorry, Gav.
Since you've mentioned Alderete and Michele, Andrew, I'll ask you this one. Lou_SFC, he's asked, are Omar and Michele better than Kabul and Kone as a pairing? I mean, it's early days, isn't it? But I said to me mate the other day, I said I can't remember 2 better centre-halves. And I'm saying that after 4 or 5 games. They're absolutely unbelievable, the pair of them. Yeah. When would you, we just said there, by the way, they would go into Man U's team and improve them. They genuinely would. That's how good they are.
Dead right. They could probably get into most Premier League teams at the moment. Now, there is that little pessimistic Sunderland supporter for 30-odd years in the back of me head saying, hang on, lads, these two could go south very quickly. But I think they probably are better than Kabul and Kone. And or certainly by the end of the season, we'll be looking back on them as having been better than them. They've got the potential. They're just, between them, they've got every asset you need in a defensive partnership. They can tackle. They're good in the air. Hey, they're not bad on the ball either. Physical.
It's the aggression for me. It's the way, like when I say aggression, I mean I don't mean like they run up to people and try to scare them. I mean like the way they attack the ball, the way they commit to blocks, the way that they don't go in 70-30 into a tackle, they go 100% into a tackle. It's the aggression and the determination. Any player can be good. I've been making this point loads since the end of the last game, but it's something we have to keep in mind, right? Anybody can be a good player. Ollie Watkins is an established Premier League striker, but if he's not up for it, then the lad with the determination and the aggression and just the lad who wants it more is going to come out on top in the duels. Yeah. And that's what's going to keep Sunderland up, is having a squad full of players like that who just want it. And Alderete and Mukiele don't just want it, they've got so much ability on top of that. So when you pair those two things, you really aren't something special.
Without doubt. Another thing I would say, just one particular facet of their capabilities I didn't touch on. They're not slouches. They've got a canny bit of pace about them. I seem to remember, was it Michele and Hume just before we equalised? Didn't Villa have a breakaway and they had a player bearing down on roofs? And I'm pretty
it was Daniel Malin, and I think it was Mukiele, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With the recovery tackle.
Yeah. So again, there's another aspect just to prove this point that as defenders, as you say, Gav, you're dead right. They have the right attitude and they are aggressive. They are quick thinking. When they decide to do something, they do it properly. They don't just dangle a foot out or whatever. They do it properly. And they've got a bit of pace. I'm yet to see anybody absolutely skin them for speed. So, yeah, Kone and Kabul did do well for us. There is no reason why these two can't surpass that.
Yeah. Last couple of little bits on team selection and stuff. Then Lee Watson, Chris, he's asked, surely Talbi, I mentioned this before, but he said, surely Talbi will give it a go on the left in the next game. And do we try Adingra on the right against Forest? So let's say we don't go through at the back. Do we play with Talbi on the left, given how well he did out there?
Yeah, it's interesting, isn't it? I thought it was Talbi's best kind of period in a Sunderland strip when he was out there on the left hand side, and I think he seemed to find it more comfortable when he had to come inside. Although if you look at our goal, he actually did both. So his first attack, he went down the line. That came back, got half cleared. We got it back out to Talbi, and then he cut inside, tried the shot. They headed it when it looped up to Xhaka. So he looked like he was able to do both, but he just seemed to be more comfortable. He just looked more natural on that left hand side, which seemed a bit odd. But yeah, I'm sure the managers will be looking at that. But I think one thing is for certain, Talbi will be in on one flank. Because I just think they want to play him. And it reminds me a little bit of the likes of Dan Neil going back to our first season in the Championship. We talked a lot about it at the time, Gav, where they're not pulling up to start with. They weren't pulling up any trees and you were like, you little bit question marks. But the club were just like, no, we've got confidence in this player being able to take that step up to this level. Just needs minutes. And once he gets minutes and gets going, we know he's going to go be a good player. And I think the club have got this feeling about Talbi in that the more minutes he plays, he's just going to kind of bloom into this player. So I think we all want to see that. And we're all excited about Talbi going to players because I think he got people on the edge of their seats in that second half out there on the left-hand side. It will be interesting to see. I think there'll be a lot of conversations going on with the management on that front, but it's all going to depend on what options he wants to do in the middle. And It's what's going to happen down that left-hand side, which is going to be interesting because I've said that, I've been saying that for most of the games this season, we've looked a little bit lopsided. And that's because we've looked fantastic down the left, and we seem to have done a very deliberate tactic of having Ronaldo going overlapping down that left and people giving them the space to get down there. Now, with Ronaldo coming up to a suspension, that's going to have to change the dynamic of our left-hand side and right-hand side. And where it worked so well with Lafay we're going to see if Masuaku is the type of player to get on his bike if Lafay's on that left-hand side and go on the overlap and attack in that way from fullback. Or do we go a little bit more conservative on the left? Or do we, or what combination do we put there? Does Hugh move across? Does Michele move to right back? Does Ballard come in at centre half? He's got a lot of options, but a lot's going to depend on not necessarily how we defend. It's how do we want to attack, because I think going forward, and I think we talked about this on a pod, it might have been your 2 up, 2 down thing, Gav, where you were talking about things we can maybe work on or look at to slightly improve. And going forward, I think is one of the things we can improve on. And it's going to be that dynamic. We've relied on that left-hand side quite a bit to go forward. But this suspension of Ronaldo is going to be a real game changer. And it's going to be interesting to see how the manager does that. And maybe the flourishing of Talbi on that left-hand side might end up being part of that, to say, well, now because we've got to rebuild our left-hand side a little bit, why doesn't Talbi go out there, Lafay come in the middle, Adingra go out the right? That's an option. But the obvious option is to Masuaku maybe and Adingra down that left-hand side, or Lafay, and if Masuaku's that type to get on his bike, like I said earlier. So, but the point is, I've spent 30 seconds there and I've probably rattled off 3 or 4 different options. And I think that's the good point of all of these conversations, isn't it?
And you never mentioned Gertruda once. Who's the other option?
Exactly.
Andrew?
Just kind of backing up something Chris said there about Talbi and how the club obviously recognise there's something there and want to give him minutes and stick with him. It's not like he's a passenger in the meantime, though. The lads in the team and doing a decent enough job as it is. So if they are sticking with him because I think he can get better, that suggests he could be a really good player for us.
But it's interesting, though, Andrew, what you're talking about, and I completely agree with you. But actually, it seemed like he was maybe getting the nod because of his work rate and his engine, rather than how effective he's been in the final third. But it's almost like the club have been waiting for him to put that piece together with his work rate. And that spell against Villa, the club should be pointing to him this week going, there you go. Be positive, because there's probably an element of stepping up from the Belgian league into the Premier League, and he's probably a little bit tentative going, can I take these big fellas on when I'm going at them? Have I got the pace? Have I got the skill? And it's getting over that mental block, and hopefully with that spell against Villa, he might be beyond that. And now when you're on the ball, he might be seeing him on the front foot going at players.
Yeah, it would be nice to see, because that is the area where there's more to come from him.
You've got to remember, 20 years old coming to the Premier League. I mean, it's a big step for him. And this is the thing, if he works as hard as he's been working, he's one of the first names on the team sheet, because you can't drop someone who's working that hard, can you?
No, definitely not. And just one other point, just because he was another name that was mentioned, Adingra, I feel ever so slightly sorry for the lad.
I do as well.
Because when he plays, he's good. And here we are having a discussion about should he be getting a starting place or not. He's done nothing wrong as yet.
And there was a couple of times against Palace, he made a couple of decent half chances against Palace, beating his man, getting to the byline, working well with Ronaldo, and then he's dropped for the next game. So he must have been good.
Yeah. Again, it just all comes back to the points I've made before. All of these discussions are much better than, God, who do we pick from here? We've got 2 or 3, basically, what do you want? Do you want a punch in the face or a kick in the balls? Whereas now what we're doing is, which of our good on-form players gets the nod?
Well, speaking of that, Jim and Tete is still around.
So there you go. There's the Diarra gap filled. Problem solved.
Yeah, well, the other part of Lee Watson's question was Enzo or Rig to come in to the central role. That's another one, And then on the right hand side, Traore hasn't kicked the ball yet. Robbie hasn't got into the team yet. Where do you put Eliza Mayenda? I mean, these options are great, but it's like we could field two teams. I mean, that question though, Chris, about Enzo or Rig, it's interesting because I think for the club to keep Rig on the right track mentally, I think he deserves another chance because he did nothing wrong and got pulled off the pitch. And I just think if that position comes up again this weekend, are they more likely to go with Rig and say, look, you were great when you were on the pitch, here's your chance again, and then put Enzo out on the left? There's so many. Tell you what, I can't remember last time it was this difficult to predict a team. It's been tough.
Yeah, I always remember, going back years and years when Sunderland used about 14 or 15 players throughout the whole season. So you just knew the starting 11. I could rattle off promotion sides 1 to 11 from way back when, because that was the same 11 every week. But I think he's going to feel really unlucky to miss out. I just think away to Forest, we're going to go for work rate. And the thing is as well, you've got to try and you've almost got to try and make up Diarra in playing away from home. You've got to make him up with the players that, in terms of the ground covered, in the players that come in for him. So you're shifting it around to say, can we cover as much ground with those players who you've put in? Because Diarra covers so much ground away from home. Now, at home, you saw that Chris Rigg could get on the ball and do what he did, where he beat a man and slid Isidore in. And that's a perfect scenario because we might be more on the front foot. Away to Forest, some kind of, they've got players in there who cover a lot of ground, get up and down. I just think it might be Chris Rigg to miss out.
Hey, this is Bill Simmons from the Bill Simmons Podcast, here to help you make the most of your summer with Michelob Ultra, a superior light beer worth playing for. Play for it with the guys when you're competing to see who can sink more birdies on the golf course, because winning tastes even better with Ultra on the line. Play for Ultra. Fill your fridge with Michelob Ultra this summer. Enjoy responsibly. Copyright 2025 Anheuser-Busch Michelob Ultra Light Beer, St. Louis, Missouri.
Are your business expenses playing hide and seek? With Uber for Business, the small spends that slip through the cracks, like rides and meals, go right where you need them. Because it integrates with leading expense platforms, you can say goodbye to surprise costs, missing dollars, or chasing receipts. Everything's track downable. Uber for Business. Make small steps that make a big impact. Learn more at uber.com/small steps.
Through the Starbucks College Achievement Plan, full and part-time Starbucks baristas receive 100% upfront college tuition coverage so they can focus on achieving their dreams, not how they'll pay for school. And those dreams might start with a degree in management, biochemistry, or any of the more than 150 offered. At Starbucks, benefits like college tuition coverage are just the start. Learn more at starbucks.com/partners.
Yeah. We'll move on to another topic here. Then Paul Jakes has asked Andrew, I know it's only 5 games in, but how frustrating is it that the bookies still have us as third favourites to get relegated? It's an interesting one. Why are we still... So you look at it, Burnley are favourites, 2 to 5. Wolves are 1 to 2. Then Sunderland at 11 to 10. West Ham at 11 to 8. Leeds at 5 to 2. Brentford at 3 to 1. So Sunderland still favourites with the bookies to go down. He says it's frustrating. I just don't understand it more than it being frustrating.
Yeah, it's a bit of a nonsense. I always have to remind myself that bookies' odds are based on factors, just their businesses, and they're trying to get custom. So their odds aren't even necessarily what they actually think will happen. It's just a reflection of what other people are putting money on and what.
So what you're saying is they want all the Newcastle fans as money.
Well, yeah, if that makes sense. Sleep easier at night thinking we're going down.
Well, no, because if they wanted people's custom, it's all the money that's been placed on us beforehand. If they wanted people to place money on Sunderland going down, if they really thought, like they would maybe lengthen it a little bit to tempt people back in. But I think with all the money that's been placed on it, with their calculations, they'll be working out how much money they'd lose if it happens. Right. And basically they're saying, well, they're putting it at that odds because they know what money they're going to lose if it comes in. So, but good. I mean, keep writing us off. Brilliant.
Yeah. I'd rather everybody thought we were going to go down and just kind of almost ignored us. And then suddenly come April, they're like, oh, Sunderland are on 45 points. How the hell did that happen?
Yeah. If all the Premier League managers can ignore how good we are and not watch us, that'd be brilliant.
Yeah. Jack Asbury has said, since I'm going away to Forest at the weekend, I want to ask your best away day. I just want to put you on the spot with your best away day. I'll give you mine straight away. Easy answer.
Go on.
Easy answer. Playoff final.
Oh, does that count? Does that count though?
Well, yeah, it's not the Stadium of Light. It's away, isn't it?
Oh, I know, but
so discounting playoff finals, and because
let's discount Wembley because it's neutral.
I was going to ask Gav which playoff final because we've had a few as well. You know, maybe that late loss to Charlton. Who knows?
My best away day. I reckon. Do you know, for a long time, and it probably still is actually. It was Man U in the cup when we beat them in the semi-final. And there was 9,000 of us at Old Trafford. Cried my eyes out like a baby. Won on penalties. Oh, it was emotional roller coaster would be an understatement because of the way we got that Bardsley goal. goal with the bunny as there. And then, what was it, like 90 seconds later, they equalised? So you went from like going absolutely mental. I think I ended up about 5 rows away to like being brought straight back down to earth. And then watching probably the worst penalty shootout ever where nobody could really score. But I mean, unbelievable. There's been a few at St James's, but for me, that would probably be me.
Yeah. Oh, honestly, because I'm trying to decide, the game comes into it, but it's the day as well, because I had some cracking days out. I remember daft games at Stockport County when I was in my teens, when Lee Clark scored a last-minute goal and I was on the pitch and everything. Just, brilliant days like that, which mean now in the grand scheme of things, just an absolutely brilliant day out. And then you've got your Man United. I remember your Man United in the Cup under Peter Reid. Brilliant. Just a brilliant day all round. And then, I don't know, there's been that many. It'd be tough to just call out one.
I love and hate these questions in equal measure because, like you say, Chris, it's nice to remember some of those great days out and great games.
Yeah.
But I'm scared that I'll name a match now and then later on today at work I'll be cross with myself. I'll be like, oh, what about the trip to so and so?
Yeah.
I might slightly twist that question if I may, because the lad is going down to Forest. 2 away games I wish I'd been at were both Forest games. I think our first Premier League win was at Forest. We'd just gone up under Peter Reid and we went and beat them 4-1. And I remember listening to that game just desperately thinking, I would have loved to have been there. And then the season we ended up going to Wembley in the first. Aye,
yeah, I remember that one. There was
I want to say.
Well, can you remember that week, Andrew? Because you went to Monk Weymouth School like me. There was a gas leak. Can you remember?
Was that the week
that we got kicked out of school because there was a gas leak, and I couldn't go to the game, and because we got sent home, I ended up going.
Oh, that gas leak was brilliant. This has got nothing to do with football. But basically, you had a load of teenage kids whose mum and dads were at work and suddenly had the house to themselves. I know a couple of lads and lasses who enjoyed having a couple of days away from school. And the saddest thing about that is my best memory is the fact we went and beat Forest.
Yeah,
so that tells you all about what I was doing as a teenage lad.
Yeah. Brilliant.
He's followed that up with your worst away day.
Oh,
no, there's been plenty of them. Trust us. Mine again. I was at the 5-1 when the Mags beat us. That was horrendous.
Yeah. No,
It was because I had to go back to Bolden and it was full of Mags on the drink, and we'd been absolutely trounced. It was just embarrassing. It was shit getting in, shit getting out of the place. Full of fucking dickheads. I hated that. That's the hands down the worst way. And I didn't even have a long particularly long journey back. It was, but it was just shite. Yeah.
Mine's pretty easy as well. I think I can go back to Selhurst Park with Peter Reid when we got beat against Wimbledon on the last day of the season, because we had to wait. Everyone was waiting in the stands because Coventry kicked off 15 minutes late. So we were waiting, yeah, of course. And we were waiting for their result to come through at Spurs. There was only 2 highlights of that day. There was a lass who ran on with no clothes on the pitch, and I was only a teen at this stage. And the other one, we were standing around in the pubs and someone nicked a police bike and smashed it straight into a brick wall. And those are the two highlights of us getting relegated that day.
I hated Selhurst Park when I was a kid.
I know.
Every time I went, we got beat. Clinton Morrison always seemed to score. He probably only scored once, but it just felt like every time I went to Selhurst Park, we got beat. Because Wimbledon and Palace were ground sharing, weren't they?
Yeah, it was
for a long time, so I hated the place. What about you, Andrew?
Oh, again, it's tough. I like how, again, typical teenage boys, I remember the Forest game because everybody was off school and having a whale of a time. And Chris remembers getting to see a naked woman running across. So, yeah, just a couple of random teens back then. If I put more thought to it, I'd probably come up with some worst ones, poorer ones. But I had a shocking run in that promotion season from League One. I only went to a handful of away games and managed to include in that the 5-1 at home, away to Rotherham. We followed it up a couple of days later at Hillsborough. So there was 2 away games I was going to back to back. I couldn't wait for them, and they were absolutely shocking. And then the Bolton game.
Yeah, I was at that too. Oh, I forgot about that. No,
I used to love trips to Bolton. It was one of my favourite away days for various reasons, and it all worked out in the end because that was the day Johnson got pedalled. But at that time, stood there while you've got a load of bloody annoying fans griefing you from the home end. It felt sick as a chip.
What was that? What was that about Johnson? I thought you were like
your 4th best manager.
Yeah.
Lads, that was months ago, and you're still. Yeah, me. That was world away. That was summer.
Great, because Johnson got pedalled. The man who he claims is the 4th best manager Sunderland have had.
I said it worked out well in the end. That summer, Sunderland have had a complete revamp. The squad just looks a million times different, and yet you're still pulling that up. We were just, coming up with content to keep us entertained over the quiet months. But that particular day was, I think, safe to say, not Johnson's best.
No, we
move on. I'm done with yous now, lads.
I'm gutted. I'd forgot about them ones because I was at all of them. Yeah, the Rotherham one was horrendous. Stood next to a bloke. It was just horrifically racist, and we left the game early. And then you go outside, and then there's it's kicking off all over the place. McGeady got sent off, didn't he? If I remember. And then we got absolutely battered. And then coming out the ground, like I say, it was kicking off all over the place. Then I went to that Chef Wed game, which was the midweek, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was.
And at the half time, it was 2-0. And one of my mates went, if they get a third, she'll fuck off. And went, 51 minutes in, they get a third. I went, right, I'm away. I pulled out the car park. I saw you, Chris, didn't I?
Yeah, no.
You left at the exact same time. You both left it.
I said the same to Ben. He said he wanted to go at half time, and I said if they get another one, we'll go. And then as soon as that went in, we were off.
Yeah. So thanks for dredging that up.
God, that racist guy, I might have been near you. Wasn't that day awful for grief between the 2 sets of fans? There was no cordon, and I think they were chucking a load of coins. And didn't they have a fan who was dressed as a knight? And he was a bit dubious because he was waving the St. George's and that got a bit edgy. It was just a
weird day. Loads of, just felt like every single Sunderland fan in the ground apart from me was on cocaine and edgy. It was just horrendous.
You, me, and Mike.
Genuinely, yeah. Rotherham was one of that. That was one of the worst I've been to. Definitely. Anyways, let's stop depressing ourselves. Friggin' hell. He's also asked a couple of other. We'll kind of end on this one on this section. Anyways, he said away day tradition that you love. Just getting pissed really and being with your mates. The football's normally the shit part, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's just having a day out with your pals and getting on the drink. So is that a tradition? I suppose it is. You know.
Well, yeah. That's the best bits of it. I mean, I've come back from Southampton when you've had a hammering at Southampton. You've got a 7-hour coach journey, and you don't want to speak to anyone. That's not much fun.
We've got a couple more positive ones to end off on, anyways. We will very quickly end off on these. John Kerr, he says, how many of our current squad do you think will be topping next year's best of lists if you redo them for each position? Given the relative quality of the Premier League, some of these lads might be the best we've ever had in their position. He's not wrong, is he, Chris?
Yeah, we had to kind of put them to one side because we thought if we call them out to be the second best player in the last 25 years, they're going to get crocked, and then it's forever on record that we put them as the second best player or something. So we had to put them to one side. But yeah, I'll tell you what, give these lads a season. Siddiqui's the one. I mean, he's the big, almost surprise that you thought you wonder if he's one for the future. And he looks a cracking player. I mean, he's someone in 5-6 years' time, you wouldn't be surprised, top level Championship, Champions League and all that. But yeah, a lot of these are going to be in those lists.
Yeah, absolutely. And you actually named Mukiele, Alderete, Xhaka, but you could go on and on, couldn't you? Roofs, Siddiqui, Diarra.
Yeah.
We for most of my life as a Sunderland fan, we've struggled with fullbacks. And all of a sudden, we've got loads of mint fullbacks, and I'm just like, I can't get over it. Honestly, it'll never feel real to us. I don't think.
Yeah, and if the likes of Siddiqui and Diarra are here for 4 or 5 years, they could end up being legends. Really could.
Well, that's it. Yeah. We'll end off on this one, I guess. Rig11X says, where do you see us finishing this season, Andrew? We'll go around the table, but we'll start with you. Where do you see us finishing?
I thought this before the game started, and all it's done is reinforced it. I honestly think we're looking at 10th or 11th. I don't see us anywhere near that relegation battle towards the end of the season.
I'm with you. Yeah, I said the same on the reaction pod. I'm like, I don't look at this team and see a team that's going to struggle. It might not be 10th or 11th. That would be amazing. But they're certainly capable of it. And my justification for that point was, and Chris has just nearly had a heart attack here and that, but that's exactly why. We carry them scars as Sunderland fans. We've seen too many false dawns. We've seen too many seasons go to shit after starting well. We've just had this feeling too many times and it's gone wrong. But that manager, them coaches, this owner, them players do not carry them scars. That's the difference. So as much as we're sitting panicking about everything going to shit, Granit Xhaka and the lads who are playing for him, they're not looking at the relegation zone. They're going, we'll beat you. He said it, didn't he, before the Palace game? Didn't he? He said, no excuses, we're going to win. All right, we weren't as an attacking outfit, we weren't unbelievable or anything, and we probably did ride our luck at times. But the point is the attitude is that every single team we face, we are trying to win that game. And I just think it feels too good, this. And I'm just hoping that what I'm saying about these scars that the players don't carry, I'm hoping that's the truth. And I'm just hoping, yeah. I genuinely, to answer the question, you said 10th or 11th there, Andrew. I reckon it'll be around there, 12th, 13th maybe. I don't think we've got the best squad, but I think we've got a lot more belief and determination, and there's just a good feeling about this group, and that'll carry us a lot further than some of these teams who, on paper, might have better players, and that's why. What about you, Chris?
Yeah, look, I think we'll stay up. Where I think it was, I really had a question mark about it before, but now I'm really confident we'll stay up. Whereas I just thought, I was still thinking after signing them, if we stay up, brilliant. If not, well, we'll see how it goes. But these players just look like we've bought players at the right level. We've got huge tests to come, and I don't think we're going to be able to obviously tell after we've had that run of games where it's big test after big test after big test, and it's coming up soon. And I'm still going to be slightly cautious in saying I'd still be very happy with 17th, but I'm going to say 15th. I still think we've got a lot of tests to come.
Yeah,
I agree, Chris, that we've got big tests to come, but that's against like the top third. I've not seen anything in the middle third or the bottom third that gives us cause for concern.
Yeah, and I don't disagree, but I think, and again, I've mentioned this on quite a lot of the pods. Like you go in, you look at all the games, every single game, it's been even. We haven't outplayed a side. It's been pretty even, and it's gone on big moments. Like we didn't create that much against. I mean, we hit the bar against Villa. We didn't create that much in terms of open play. It was set pieces because we were a man down. That could have easily gone wrong. We could have went behind against West Ham. Burnley, we could have actually won that game. Burnley took their moments and we didn't in that game. Brentford, we could have gone a goal behind. VAR kind of bailed us out a little bit, and then we last minute goal and all that sort of stuff. It's been big moments. Now we need to stay on the right side of those big moments because the games are so even. Either side can win the games in all the ones we've been involved in, and we've got the players to do it. But when we get up against those better sides, and it's almost saying, well, those moments have always got to go our way to really get up the league. And it's just, at the minute, it's just too close for me to say, the games have been too close against the opposition that we've played for me to say, oh, we're going to finish, 10th or top half or whatever. I still think 15th. We're going to hit a bad run and we've got to be ready for it.
Yeah. And I know we want to wrap up, so I'll try and make this quick. I agree that the moments have fallen on our side so far, and they've been the big factors. But they're falling on our side because we are a team that believes in each other, never gives up. And we've gone an hour against a team who beat Bayern Munich last year in the Champions League. We've gone an hour against them, and the only time they were able to beat us was with a long range effort.
Yeah.
That's why I'm confident.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, those are getting us over the line now, but it's the repetition. Can we do that for the next 3-6 months consistently, week in, week out? It's a big ask. So then that's why I say I think we'll stay up, but I'm just cautious of saying mid-table, top half. I still think around 15th sounds about right.
Chris, man, I'll see you in Europe, all right? Don't worry about that.
I'll check my passport.
Well, thank you, lads. It's been a pleasure, as always. Thank you very much to the listeners for sending your questions. We're probably going to do another one of these next week. If you haven't already listened to the pods that we've did since the game, make sure you get caught up on them and get subscribed. Got loads coming throughout the rest of the week. The schedule is pretty jam-packed with guests and what have you. We are going to be joined by Matty Hewitt, who writes for The Chronicle. This week, we've also got Daniel Taylor coming on to talk us a little bit about Nottingham Forest. I think over the weekend as well, we're going to be joined by Danny Collins. We've got Tom White on next week. So we've got loads of guests coming up for you to get involved with. So make sure you stick with Howie the Podcast. Thank you very much, chaps. It's been a pleasure.
Yep, as always, mate.
Yeah. Thank you to the listeners. We'll catch you on the next one. See you later.
This podcast is part of the Sports Social Podcast Network.